Welcome to The Explainer. So, is a massive war between the US, Israel, and Iran just over the horizon? Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating and, yeah, highly speculative theory from a YouTube analysis that claims to have the exact timeline for a conflict in early 2026. We're going to break down how this prediction is built, the evidence it uses, and what the source says the fallout would be. All right, let's jump right in.
So the theory we're digging into today, it doesn't waste any time. It opens with this startling claim. A new war is coming. And not just any war, a conflict between Israel and Iran, with the US directly involved, supposedly kicking off in the first 2 months of 2026. According to the source, this isn't just some vague possibility, it's presented as a carefully planned event that's practically a done deal.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how on earth do they come up with such a specific prediction? This is where it gets really interesting. The whole argument for a war in 2026 rests on a pretty wild foundation, a secret war that the source claims already happened in 2025. And we have to be super clear here. This is a fictional event created by the source to build its case. So what is this fictional event that supposedly sets the stage for everything that's to come? Well, the source doesn't just vaguely talk about tensions. Nope, it lays out a very specific, detailed story of a conflict it claims went down in 2025, and it uses that story as a kind of blueprint for the future.
And this brings us to what the source calls the Secret War of 2025. Now, according to this theory, this wasn't some minor border skirmish. It was a full-on 12-day conflict that serves as the perfect precedent. Think of it like a dress rehearsal, a trial run for the much bigger war that it's predicting for 2026.
Just look at the detail here. The source creates this incredibly specific timeline for its fictional war, pinpointing it between June 13th and June 24th, 2025. And the climax? The first ever direct U.S. bombing of Iran. This whole invented event is the absolute linchpin for the entire 2026 prediction. And to make this fictional war feel, real, the source provides these incredibly specific, though totally unverified, casualty numbers. It claims over 1,000 Iranians were killed, but it also includes what it calls Iran's counterclaim of taking out 700 Mossad agents. It's a classic narrative trick, right? Use precise numbers to create this illusion of authenticity. Right, but hang on a second. This begs a pretty huge question, which the source itself anticipates. If this really happened, how could Iran have been caught so completely off guard? Well, the theory's answer is a pretty clever media deception. Here's the playbook the source claims was used. Step 1. Plan stories in the media saying President Trump wants peace. Step 2. Let that narrative sink in and make Iran complacent so they lower their defenses. And then, bam! Step 3. With their guard down, you launch the surprise attack. The source is basically saying this exact strategy is the key to understanding how the 2026 attack is going to unfold. So, with that fictional precedent supposedly established, the source shifts from the past to the future. It starts laying out what it claims is the actual plan being put together right now for the main event in 2026. The theory gets unbelievably specific here, even claiming to know the exact date a war plan will be presented, December 29th, 2025. On this day, the source alleges, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu will sit down with President Trump and lay out the entire strategy for hitting Iran. At the very core of this supposed plan is one single dramatic number, 500. That number, 500, supposedly represents the number of bombs that will be dropped on Iran. We're talking about a massive, overwhelming air campaign designed to be swift, decisive, and absolutely devastating. And the goal of this massive attack isn't just about sending a message. According to the source, the ultimate objective is to permanently cripple Iran's strategic capabilities, to completely annihilate its missile and nuclear programs so that they can never be rebuilt. But that is a huge, risky, and aggressive plan. So why would the U.S. ever agree to it? Well, the source's analysis points to one thing: the specific political motivations it attributes to President Trump. The source uses this direct quote from Donald Trump as its key piece of evidence. The analysis interprets these words to mean that Trump feels pro-Israel influence has weakened in Washington and that he's motivated to restore it. Supporting Israel in a decisive strike against Iran would, in this view, be the ultimate way to make that happen. But the impact of a war like this wouldn't just stop at Iran's borders. According to the source, the plan is also designed to create global ripple effects that serve wider U.S. interests in things like trade, alliances, and geopolitics.
The theory claims that for the US, this is about killing multiple birds with one stone. A strike on Iran could disrupt the north-south transport corridor that's a key trade route for Russia, while also reassuring allies like Saudi Arabia. But the biggest factor, according to the source, is countering the intelligence support that Iran is allegedly getting from Russia and China. So yeah, this isn't just a two-sided conflict. The source paints a picture of a global shadow war. It alleges that Russia and China are already in the game, actively feeding intelligence to Iran and using spies to try and uncover Israeli military plans, basically to counter the attack before it even begins. And so the entire theory really boils down to this single question about the American president's legacy. Will he be remembered as a peacemaker, or will he, as this speculative analysis claims, launch a massive new war? It's a provocative theory for sure, built on a fictional past to predict a dramatic future. And it leaves us with a lot to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.